All right, guys, so I think it goes without saying Manor Lords is the kind of game, structurally, gameplay-wise, you can easily kind of transplant it into another setting and culture, right? I've always said this, and I think through modding especially, this can be done as an open source sort of progression towards developing Manor Lords in different ways, in different avenues and branches in the future, once Greg is happy and Hooded Horse are happy with releasing version 1.0. And this is a post that was posted on the Manor Lords subreddit 3 days ago. It basically links to an article by Video Gamer going into actually how Hooded Horse confirms, Greg is, always kind of thinking a bit far into the future, how the game can develop, and he would be open to actually expanding the game into new settings. Beyond, medieval Germany and the way Manor Lords is right now at the core of this game, which is amazing. I mean, you've got lots of incredible settings that Manor Lords could go into. You've got, there's actually a link here going into another subreddit post about how it could be done in a Roman setting, posted by Elkborn. So this goes into how, the wooden walls and manor would work perfectly for a small fortified town, with, like with a Roman kind of encampment, maybe. You could add a hygiene requirement, level 1 public baths, level 2 gymnasium. Entertainment after the tavern could be in the form of a small gladiatorial pit. I don't know. Personally, I would probably have like a tavern and a gladiator kind of area a little bit separate, maybe, but that's just me. The stone blocks that are currently unused could be swapped to marble. Absolutely. I think there could be a lot done in terms of different vegetation and geographical kind of terrain and that kind of respect as well. Obviously, Germany and the way Manor Lords is built right now is very different to how Italy is. And I think, lots of things can be done there as well. Mosaics in the cosmetic tab, grapevine dwelling extension. Like, there's some really solid ideas. I think Rome is an absolutely beautiful setting that could be done in this kind of Manor Lords style of gameplay. But there are other settings as well. I mean, the article goes into how Feudal Japan would be an incredible setting. I would love Feudal Japan. I think Rome has been done a lot in a variety of games across strategy, across base building and Age of Empires style and all of that. I think really something new and fresh like Feudal Japan, or even something fantasy like Lord of the Rings, or even like Game of Thrones. Like, there's so much you can do, so many settings and cultures you could go into across the world and across fantasy sort of fiction that you can go into to bring this to life. So yeah, he actually goes into saying, in the past in the Discord, Greg has said the early access launch version of the game is going to be a single faction and sandbox only. However, exploring different cultures and themes in the future is something I've thought about. And I think especially with the success of the launch, I mean, 173,000 players at launch is a huge number for an early access indie game, right? Even though the current daily peak is 10,000, that just goes to show they made an incredible amount of money from launching the game. Enough money to invest into not just, building that baseline that I'm talking about, the foundation of the game, but also thinking about strategizing how Manor Lords can develop into the future, into different cultures and settings. I think all of that, they actually go into saying, Greg is often doing blue sky thinking and all that, but I don't think he would be doing that if Manor Lords wasn't that successful at launch. So I'm very excited. I think this article is just, a very teaser kind of taster of what might happen in the future. We still have a long road, I think, to version 1.0 release. Lots of mechanics right now in the game are still up in the air that Greg has said he wants to do a bit better and fix in different ways. The castle planner, for example, they actually mention it here as well. The castle planner is still very much a work in progress. So, this kind of foundation, I don't think it's going to be ready for at least another year, in my opinion. But once that's ready, I think there are two ways that are super exciting for Manor Lords. The first is, there's going to be expansions to the game, actual official ways in which Manor Lords will move into new areas, right? And then the other side of it is modding. I think really there's so much potential for modding for Manor Lords. On my channel, I cover a lot of mods for Total War across all of the games, apart from maybe some of the more modern ones. But, the historical games have often been so much more successful because of modding commitment to turn them into different settings. You know, Medieval 2 is famous for being highly moddable and to have hundreds of mods that cover from Westeros to medieval eras, you know, Crusades campaigns that are a bit more built out with more factions. You've got Roman era mods, Europa Barbarorum. You've got Lord of the Rings mods. You've got, you know, Avatar mods. There's just so much that has made Medieval 2 as popular as it is today. I think it gets like 4,000 players a day right now for a game that's 20 years old, over 20. Like, that is an incredible thing to see. So to just come back around the point, you know, Manor Lords is the kind of game I think that can have that same kind of longevity, basically, to have a mod that kind of restructures it and turns it into a feudal Japan, to have another one that turns it into a Lord of the Rings where you're playing as Rohan and you've got the bandits aren't bandits, they're Urukai raiding your lands, and maybe you start off with towns in every region and you need to build them up a little bit to defend yourself against each of the Urukai attacks coming from this direction that you know they're going to come from. Like, there's so much you can do, honestly, and that just really excites me. So to see this article, to know that you know, Greg, Hooded Horse, they're thinking, you know, into the future how Manor Lords can explore different settings, Rome, Japan, something more fantasy. Obviously, Lord of the Rings has a lot of copyright issues, I imagine, from an official perspective, but for a modding potential here in the game, there's so much that can be done. Also, just to pivot for a moment, if you don't own Manor Lords, you're watching this and you want to buy it, you can pick it up with a massive 53% off right now on Instant Gaming, a reputable game key reseller that I've been using for a little while now. They have a great roster of games with the rest of the Total War titles on sale and more. Games like Ghosts of Tsushima, Helldivers 2, and others will all have much bigger discounts than ever before. So if you're thinking about buying, make sure to click the link below to get your games for cheap and support the channel at the same time. Now let's get back to the video. And then finally, guys, I just want to go back to the subreddit post here because there are some really good comments from other kind of users here discussing what kind of settings could be good. You know, Feudal Japan would be good. This user says Rome has been done a lot, but I actually don't agree. I think Rome would be really perfect for a Manor Lords kind of gameplay style. It's been done in other games, but I think Manor Lords is very special in the feeling, the aesthetic that it delivers. So I think Rome could be quite interesting to see in this game. You've got Mesoamerica, the Aztecs, that could be a beautiful area, both kind of like locally, natively, how that can be done, but also from a colonial kind of settlement aspect, you know, Spanish arriving, British, maybe colonization of India, you know, that kind of style of coming in, and there are other kind of local tribes that you need to engage with. That could be quite interesting as well. Nordic setting, Manor Lords Ireland, which you can only grow potatoes and wheat, and potatoes get blight and a foreign king forces you to send all the wheat to export. Oh my god, that just sounds hilarious and very annoying. There's a comment, this is the comment I actually really want to highlight. So there is an aspect to this that is kind of a bit more kind of concerning, I guess, and a sort of, you know, what if the game is made more generic to accommodate more settings, right? Because going into other settings means changing large swaths of how mechanics actually function, how people behave, you know, how are you going to do animations? I mean, you know, so much about Manor Lords is the beauty of how these people you're managing and growing actually engage with the world around them, how they're building this building or how they're going over here to hunt the deer. Like, all of that would have to be really adapted to new settings. And if the ambition long term is to expand into new settings, you'd have to really adapt that in a way that makes it very low effort. And I think Spec 28 is really right to have this kind of concern. You'd have to try and make it as generic but still unique as possible to accommodate these settings, which I don't like the idea of. That basically sounds like a reskin, essentially, which is what Jub Jub Bird's following commentary is all about. Yeah, so that's a sort of worry that could happen, just kind of in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about as well. So yeah, lots of really good comments here about how other settings could work. You know, modern settings could be done as well. America maintaining independence against the British. You got so much that you can do. And yeah, I can't wait to see if it's actually going to happen. I really hope Greg does seriously consider in the future expanding it into new settings, or at least that we get mods that allow an open source way of getting people to create other settings as well. And that's basically it for today, guys. I wanted to do a bit of an open discussion about Manor Lords, this article here about, you know, how it can be expanded into new settings, new cultures, what players maybe would like to see as well. Rome, Japan, what I would like to see. I think a Rome would be absolutely amazing, but also kind of other ideas and peoples and cultures and histories that can be depicted in this way in this game, and the aesthetic and the beauty and the lovely anime, all of that like can really be done well and touch on settings that haven't really been done much in gaming either. There's so much potential, but I think there is a long road. It's always nice to have these kinds of speculative, kind of open discussions, and I'd love to hear what you think as well, especially, you know, this is a one-sided conversation so far in this video, but I'd love to hear what you think in the comment section below. Please let me know, you know, what setting are you interested in? What kind of concerns you might have if expansions into new settings are suddenly a priority down the line. You know, I'd love to hear all of your thoughts on this topic as well. And that's going to be the end of the video. So I really hope you enjoyed the video and found it informative. If you did, give it a like and drop any thoughts or questions in the comment section below. As I said, subscribe to the channel for more Manor Lords videos just like this, on updates, patches, speculative, just discussions like this as well. And thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.